So, for those of you who don't know, the Daily Wire offered Steven Crowder a contract. It would have been $50 million over 4 years with some strict, but let's be fair, given the salary here, reasonable conditions. And after essentially like pulling a delaying bid here, Steven Crowder invited a Daily Wire guy to a call where they talked. Crowder privately recorded his conversation, leaked it, and has now been going on this big stop big con grift where he's trying to profit off of denouncing the Daily Wire as being slave drivers for their mean contract of $50 million over 4 years. Isn't that illegal? Depends on the state. The reason why I'm interested in this in particular is because Steven Crowder is incredibly racist. He is so racist that he occasionally slips into like 95-year-old white guy on a rocking chair on the porch of an Alabama retirement home racism. I mean, he's committed to the bit. I don't think he's particularly bright. He's definitely not funny. That's an official opinion of Fox News, by the way, after they stopped working with him. But I think he's very ideologically committed to his ability to be racist freely. The Daily Wire has always come across as a lot more corporate, and it seems like Tim Pool has sided with Crowder in what I'm perceiving as right-wing infighting, but also like an attempt to reclaim authentic reactionary politics from like corporate reactionary media, if that makes any sense. They go on for a bit here, but I gotta know. Steven Crowder says why he recorded private phone call, explains friends versus business. I want to know.
You recorded co-CEO of Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, on a phone call.
Yep.
He says, I thought we were friends.
Yep.
A lot of people have said, wow, that was a messed up thing to do. It sounds like what you're saying in the context we were just talking, they sent you a business contract that was very bad, that penalized you 110% if all fees are applied, more money than they would actually pay you. And it didn't take into consideration if you made them more money. It didn't take into consideration how much money you made them. It didn't take into consideration if you were banned from Facebook, but Facebook.
So yeah, worth noting here that I've said this before, but it's very important to remember. Conservative media is entirely fake and artificial. This channel, operates off the profit margins of this channel. If this channel can't make enough money to pay my rent, and now the rent of my editors as well, and also food ideally, then this channel wouldn't exist, or it'd have to be scaled back. I don't have any other funders. It's all Google AdSense, and you guys donating. That is it. Steven Crowder apparently has been funded by billionaires from the get-go, thanks to his dad, I assume. He has never had to draw a profit from his content. And what that means is, and a reminder here, that in spite of the fact that both the left and the right, in terms of their public figures, make money off of what they do, they're playing a completely different game. It doesn't matter how bad the right does. There is an infinite pool of dark money to promote their positions. The left succeeds based on the virtues of their ideas. It is an entirely unfair game. It is completely skewed against us in this fact. The fact that the right doesn't already own anything is a testament to how retarded they really are. The fact that they have this much money, this much institutional power, this much of an incentive for new, bright, young politics people to jump onto their side because they can get paid for it, the fact that they've got all that going for them, and they still have any trouble is insane. And it's because ultimately they don't believe in these positions for real. A lot of them don't really believe in it. They say what they're told to say. They all drink the Kool-Aid, and they use numbers and money to move people over to their side. I mean, if people actually liked their positions, why do they need so much money backing them up?
Facebook generated no revenue, they still penalized you.
That's part of it.
So here's what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm thinking. If the question is, and I do have qualms about recording the recording, but we'll get into more detail. Mm-hmm. They say you were supposed to be friends. Why would you record your friend's phone call? Mm-hmm. Well, there's an interesting point to be made. Why would your friend send you a very, very bad contract that felt exploitative?
And why would a friend not listen to you when you say, take me off the table. It's not a fit. There was never, just to be clear, there was never another offer that came through after I said, these are the non-starters. The penalties for big tech, right? The owning of people's names, image, likeness, their platforms are in perpetuity long after they leave. I said, then we can talk about the money, right? He said they came in low, and I'm sure
You know, I don't think I've ever actually seen Steven Crowder outside of his set.
my gay Cuban hardcore right-wing agent came in high. You find that, but it's like, but there can't be any terms without this. Once I said that can't happen, these terms, the big tech penalties, that's when talks completely stopped. It was never changed and said, of course, all these.
So what he's saying here is he's referring to terms in the Daily Wire contract where if he got banned from social media, they would pay him less. So essentially, he's complaining that the terms of the contract would award him less money if he was prevented from doing his job. You know, like how every other contract works, like in every contract ever. If you have a 4-year contract, somewhere there will be a clause saying, hey, yeah, if you just aren't doing your job, then we won't, then we'll cancel the contract right there because you're not doing the job the contract is for. He takes issue with that. He thinks that's too far. He's compared this contract to slavery. He doesn't like the idea that getting banned off YouTube might end up nixing his contract because he really wants to be racist, you know?
Like you saw in the first video, we have to make money.
They outright said that fee structure couldn't be changed.
Yeah, there was never another offer after that. I said, look, this is the sticking point. You have to get rid of all of these.
Change it.
And also, we can't do this. I'd love to sit as from one business owner to
in essence, he wants money for nothing. He wants an ungodly amount of money, and in exchange, no requirements on his end. Like no standards of decorum that he has to meet without getting banned, because that would cause him to no longer be able to do his show. Anything that could prevent him. He wants like no stipulations, just no strings attached, just give me money. This is what we're dealing with here. They were willing to offer him $50 million, guys. $50 million. Do you have any idea how bad conservative positions have to be? That they're willing to front this kind of money in order to promote what they believe? I mean, we're like literally. George Soros, where are you at? We joke about Soros giving people money. I'm tired of joking. Soros, unironically, before you die, stop putting a 1% of your funds into a fund that goes to a fund that goes to a fund that goes to a fund that maybe gets distributed across 15 different causes, okay? Give me money directly. Give me $50 million. I will be a very loud leftist. Crowder was also given 4 weeks vacation and would only work 4 days a week in the contract. Yeah, remember his Labor Day thing where he showed up smoking a pipe in a bathrobe for his video where he was like, you workers shouldn't demand anything. You don't deserve any rights. Meanwhile, he is a nepotism case who got like dropped from comedy and Fox. And he gets paid tens of millions of dollars, no strings attached, for nothing, while demanding like higher and higher rights for himself. Do not like be deluded into thinking he doesn't understand the contradiction. He does. He's just evil. That's it. God, everything makes sense once you line that up, you know? My mind is racked with contradictions. How can it be that they'll advocate things that are harmful to other people, but then hypocritically do? How do they know? Well, they're evil. They don't care, and they're evil. It really does simplify things.
Another. You don't have to do it this way, right? A good example is, look, I feel vulgar talking about numbers. Election night. Okay, election night. We had been suspended for having Carrie Lake on. The entire Daily Wire cast on YouTube, less than a quarter of the viewers that we had on Rumble. When we cross streams, their viewership went up 40,000 people. That's proof of product that, hey, look, proof of concept. You can do it off of YouTube. You don't have to.
Right.
I think you use the...
No, it's not. Getting a bunch of people to move off platform for a banned stream is good for day 1 and day 2 and day 3. YouTube brings in consistent years-long access to the entire social media space. Rumble does not. Also, Rumble's known to inflate their numbers. Well, that too, I guess. Much in the same way that if I got banned from YouTube and was like, hey, DLive, right now, I could probably get like 7,000 to 8,000 people there. But if I streamed on DLive every day for the rest of my career, I could not maintain that. Like, obviously.
Platform as long as you can, but you need to start building alternatives. It is fundamental to the business model on the right to not change that.
And I'll just point out that we have about 120,000 more.
Ever seen any leftist creators say anything like that? It's fundamental to the business model on the left that we maintain these contract clauses. Have you ever seen that? No, because we don't have them. We don't have enough money or power to do that. there's no institutional support for us to have a business model. Our business model is make content and hope they go to the Patreon, or in my case, just donate directly.
More live viewers than we average with you being here. So there's something to be said.
I think Daily Wire's got some creative, like a lot of opportunity on their website. Because like if all your back catalog was on Daily Wire at no cost to anybody, and they could go into Daily Wire, log in, and then I spend 99 cents on a Crowder video, and then that money gets split between you guys. Like there's a lot of technical.
Well, they're already going to be doing
possibilities.
over 300,000 Mug Clip subscribers day one, right? Now, the issue here is let's take me out of it. Let's say you're starting your own thing, right? You're trying to come up in this movement, and the terms are being set by people on your side behind the scenes where this is the ball that you have to play. I said to Jimmy, take me out of it. It's not the right fit, which I thought, if I don't have a dog in this fight anymore, it won't fall on deaf ears when I say, hey, it's about the next kid. This can't work. We can't have a movement. We can't sell our people out. And that's how I view it. Maybe you don't. They said, this is just a business. These are the terms. But there are alternatives.
So I listen, this is more of like an edge case thing on my end, but I feel like a lot of this has to do with Ben Shapiro being Jewish. Ben Shapiro, obviously an evil guy in his own right, has always had kind of an interesting relationship with the rest of the right, because the right has grown increasingly openly anti-Semitic in recent years. I mean, Kanye being a big one, obviously, where like people were defending Kanye and like downplaying what he said and everything. But more broadly, like what we're talking about right now is a narrative where we have like independent, keep in mind Crowder's never been independent, but fake independent, like money for free, welfare queen independent Crowder and content creators who are conservative versus the Daily Wire, which is like this, Ben isn't the CEO, no, but he is the face of it. Shapiro is undeniably the face of the Daily Wire. And what's more, Ben Shapiro was kind of like fronted as the main guy for the right for a long time. Ben Shapiro is our canary in the coal mine. Eventually, as the conservative movement grows further and further right, anti-Semitism will be an increasingly necessary part of their rhetoric as they promote conspiracism and so on. Yeah, the Jordan Peterson quote, right. But like if you take what he said and view it from like a critical perspective, like critical theory, like anti-Semitism is so often brought up by fascist movements because it's like a catch-all kind of conspiracism that you can use to promote the necessary in-group, out-group distinctions that fascism relies on. And in the case of Ben Shapiro specifically, him being like he's like the conservative Jewish guy, like that's not like a secret or whatever. It's something that he is known for. He's far more prominent in that respect than Dennis Prager is. I feel like there's always been a narrative on the right about Ben Shapiro being like the holdback. Does that make any sense? Like the useful idiot to a point? We talked about this a lot more during the Kanye stuff, where it felt like there was a tension there. And Ben Shapiro is aware of it too. Ben might be a lying piece of shit, but I do think he wants to make it through to die in old age, and I know he's aware of anti-Semitism on the right, because back in 2016, he criticized the Trump supporting group massively for it. He was talking about how they were like neo-Nazis in their positions on Jewish people. The fact that Ben is aware of that suggests to me, like an awareness and a willingness to read writing on the wall when present. Things have only gotten worse since then. There's just something about this narrative of like the big money-grubbing Daily Wire trying to strangle authentic, independent, conservative creators and keep them in line with corporate speech. What with Steven Crowder being such a racist guy? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a thought, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
You don't have to be dependent on YouTube or Facebook.
That's just a theory. A game theory. Yeah.
And you certainly shouldn't make it fundamental to your business model when you're telling people that you're fighting them. This has been going on for years.
Here's my
and not just Daily Wire, to be clear. Not just Daily Wire. Pick a name in the movement. Most likely, yes.
Here's my view of it. I think the Daily Wire does important work, good work. Candace Owens' BLM documentary, I think, was good. What is a Woman, I think, was a massive success. That What is a Woman reached people that I know that aren't political, and that's a cultural force. So I think I talked with them. We had a meeting. I sat down with Jeremy, with a few of the other guys, but mostly with Jeremy. Jeremy came on the show afterwards. He said,
"Yeah, Matt Walsh and Candace Owens are interesting ones because Candace Owens has no positions at all and is pure grift. Matt Walsh genuinely is like a Nazi. He was literally on Twitter just the other day talking about how we need the death penalty for all drug dealers and how like we need to clear the scum of the degenerates with like a video of poor people on the street. He literally this day, today, he was doing a big post on like modern art corrupting. It's literally like full Nazi posting. There's no like, yeah. The only thing they can't say is like name Jews. They will, outside of explicitly naming racial or like, I would say religious groups, but they could say anything they want about Muslims. Pretty much just as long as he doesn't explicitly mention race and like Jewish people, like his rhetoric is exactly the same. So it's kind of interesting, right? Because the Daily Wire also gives like, you know, it provides cover for them. And there was recently a beef between Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. Remember on Twitter when Ben Shapiro criticized Candace Owens for being like tolerant towards Kanye? It's just interesting. It just, man, I really feel like Ben is kind of the canary in the coal mine on this one. Yeah, I don't know. Oof.
Said, hey, if there's anything you ever need, let us know. Thanks for having me on. And I was like, I'll hit you up sometime. We talked about doing Nashville week because we wanted to try out our new mobile studio. Then while
so much business talk with these people. Hold on.
The big narrative that we were hearing about your argument.
Well, it's not anymore, right? They changed it to the
Right.
phone call. That
Now
was the
it's-
initial narrative, which was a lie. That's a tactic of the left.
Well, so
Gaslight.
let's do the context here.
Yeah.
You put out a video. You mentioned, look at these fees. It's, you know,
I never mentioned money outside of what I believe were immoral penalty fees. I never talked.
Yeah.
You've never heard me say, "Hey, not enough money was offered." That's not what it's about.
So when we first were watching the show and we talked about it, I said, what's the fee? We don't know. And then the Daily
Crowder. But I could tell you that on that phone call, they said we have an entire social media department. Right? I said I have one guy, Gary, and he's awesome. A few days later.
I do want to dedicate more
Did
time.
Gary join Daily Wire?
Well, let me.
No.
Wow, there really is nothing here, is it? I was wondering if they'd be on a different subject if I went back to the middle of a video that was like 2 back in the clip feed, but it really literally is just he doesn't like the fact that he could have made less than $50 million in 4 years if he had gotten himself banned from YouTube. Vaush, Candace Owens says Crowder's like a socialist. That does seem like the go-to position she would have on this.
I don't know, which is why it is not worth us saying anything more, in my opinion. I don't know what the Daily Wire is going to say about it further, but the reason why this doesn't really matter is I think that people are really seeing just how nasty what you did was, and I think that I would hope that you would come to terms with the fact that you owe everybody an apology, that this was never necessary, that you can start whatever company you want. You don't get to step in like a socialist, and it is socialist-like. These are the demands that you hear, and people are trying to establish a union. When the Amazon workers have
You know, the funny thing is that at least in terms of Steven Crowder exercising his rights and leveraging his rights as a worker, she's actually not off on that. It's not socialist, but in terms of like, is this consistent with the basic tactics of union negotiation? For which the answer is, well, yes. Obviously, that's not socialism, but it is an exercise of worker rights. Though, obviously, this is a very twisted example of that. You know, like a bunch of fascists paying each other tens of millions of dollars, you know, for like being YouTubers or whatever. But yeah.
walked out because they have decided that they are worth more, that they should have 3-hour lunch breaks. They've gotten their contract from
True.
Amazon, and they realize that
God
their
bless.
lunch breaks are only 1 hour, and that they're required to show up to work, and they think they should be able to work from home for 3 days a week post-COVID, and they walk out, and they
BLA, stop spamming a chunk of like 8 questions in a row. Stop. We're doing a thing.
want to stage a union, and this is the big con. It's Amazon. No, this is the free markets. And so to Tim Pool, what I would say, and I like Tim Pool, and I think that he is always very kind to all of his guests that he has on his show. But when he says that he doesn't think $50 million is enough, I would like to say that the free markets will answer that question.
So I guess this is a nice reminder that when the fascists say free market, what they actually mean is unrestrained corporate power. Even if you go back to like the foundation of liberalism and capitalism, like laissez-faire capitalism, like the free market includes the negotiating power of workers. The free market just means absent government intervention. Crowder refusing to take a contract and demanding more is fully within the parameters of the free market, as defined by the very, like, the tenets of the system that we exist within would acknowledge that. But of course, conservatives have twisted the definition of free market into meaning not only does the market function best without government intervention, it functions best without workers' opinions either, where only corporations get to have a say and workers just get what they get, which of course would be slavery if corporations had absolutely nothing keeping them from doing that. Crowder did a JQ joke that you missed. Did he really?
There are no investors in Timcast. There's only me as the principal of the entire company, sole owner, sole board member, president, CEO, treasurer, chairman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's staff, you know, I have a COO, we've got people who work here, but I own literally all of it, control all of it with no outside investment. It's literally just, I started making.
And you're not even Jewish.
Yeah, I'm
just saying as a joke to the anti-Semites in there. By the way, we're not talking about no one.
Wow, that didn't flow at all. Like that didn't make any sense in the context of the conversation either. Like even Tim didn't really play off that. He was just like, yeah, man, yeah, because he's comparing this to the Daily Wire. Yeah, he just kind of said it, huh? Wow, I feel like this one little bit right here really validates the argument that I made earlier about this having a lot to do with Ben Shapiro being Jewish. Why else would he say that? Tim Pool is saying this in a comparison to the structure of Daily Wire. And Steven Crowder just randomly, it's a random thing to drop in. See, that's the thing. It's very random, which means that his mind had to go there for reasons that wouldn't make sense to a non-anti-Semite. Right? Like, there wasn't a natural throughway to that. It was just like, it was in his head. Yeah, I don't know, man. We have to keep an eye on Ben Shapiro with time, because I really want to know how that all pans out.